It does not matter your demographic, where you're coming from, how much money you have. Every kid can create a lens to view the world where they create emotional, material, and spiritual value from every situation. And if we can get a whole generation of our kids doing that, it's going to change everything. Smart money parenting. Okay, buddy, here we are. Another episode.
Let's do this. Here we go.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Smart Money Parenting. Got my buddy Chad here. We are ready to rock. How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing great. Big day, big week. Excited about your book launch. And this episode's going to be filled with some cool stuff for you parents and your kids.
Here it is. If you're watching video,
there it is.
Here's the book. First copy ever printed in my hands. Value Creation Kid. The healthy struggles your children need to succeed. This is a labor of love for me. It's launched this week.
Congratulations, my man. Congratulations.
Thanks, you know the deal. 1,000 hours of work and lots of thinking, and this stuff is fresh on my mind. So I figured we'd talk about it today. But you got your book, Smart Not Spoiled, in the background, which I
do.
love.
Here it is.
Tagline of yours: the 7 money skills. Yeah, you read it.
7 money skills your kids must master before leaving the nest. How to help your kids be smart, not spoiled.
So Chad sold these all over the world. Value Creation Kid, my book with Lee Benson, the great Lee Benson, who we love dearly. We wrote it together. They're both going to be top sellers worldwide. And I think just like our show hit these top charts in the world, the books are selling because people really care about this. We didn't just show Apple a message that financial skills are critical for the next generation. I think we showed Wall Street Journal and USA Today and Amazon and New York Times. Like, we're showing everybody, like, look, guys, this is an issue. This is something we care about. This is something that every parent, you can't outsource financial training, right, Chad? This is not stuff you can just outsource to school or church or some summer camp or some other person. You've got to bring this in the home if you want your kids to be successful. So that's why we're talking about it today. But why don't, before we go into Value Creation Kid and kind of do a deep dive on the reasons behind this book, let's talk about Smart Not Spoiled for a second. So you wrote this 2 years ago, year and a half ago?
2 years ago. Yep, 2 years ago. And yes, the reason I wrote Smart Not Spoiled is because, I guess a little bit selfishly in the beginning, I was always concerned that my kids are growing up with a much different lifestyle than what I grew up with. You know, when I grew up, we were a very middle income family. My parents shared a car. When I was in elementary school, we had like 1,000 square foot house with 2 bathrooms, and I had 3 sisters. And so I pretty much had no bathroom.
You had to go.
I had the side yard, and I would come and see the bathroom just covered in like blow dryers and makeup and all this stuff. So like going out to eat was a real treat. And, you know, my dad was very frugal, and he was very much about like, nobody orders a soda or a dessert, like, or an appetizer. You get your meal, and we're gonna watch the pennies. And you know, I'm in a different financial situation than my parents were at the same age, and so I was very concerned. Like, how do I raise kids who are smart but not spoiled brats? Like, I don't want to have entitled kids. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna live like a miser, and I'm just gonna like, you know, treat my family like we don't have the opportunity for some cool experiences. But at the same time, how do I still maintain them to have some sense of being grounded and some humility and some care and appreciation? And that's why I wrote Smart Not Spoiled. And it's a topic that I often get asked about as a financial expert, is like, what do I do with my kids? How do I not ruin them? How do I not make them entitled or waiting for inheritance? And so really, this book was to give some actual practical tips to families and parents and grandparents even about what to do to help your kids learn and prepare to have a foundation of personal finance before they graduate high school. That's really the mission of that book.
That's it. And that's so critical, man. Like, and our book just builds on it, right? Like Value Creation Kid, my book literally builds on your book. And the beautiful thing, you know, what we have together is called what Dan Sullivan calls a free zone. It's a free zone frontier. 2 people with unique abilities getting together to make something that's exponentially more powerful for the marketplace to serve a lot of people. And that's what I love about our mission here, because both of our books literally make up Gravystack, the banking and investing app for kids that we just launched right now, right? That app has investing and banking and all the money machine and the actual 100 games to teach kids to be fully financially competent. Most of that content that builds those really fun games and real life missions comes from Smart Not Spoiled, your book, and Value Creation Kid, my book. So the
Which
two
is awesome.
together, what we
Yeah.
tell people is, look, you want to choose either or, sure, pick the app. Like, do the automated game banking app. That will be the automated roadmap for your family. But the written version of our books are really powerful for parents to have this kind of written guide that they can put, on the table, in the library, at the office, on the bedside. Just really simple, practical. You and I are not complex. We're not heady. We're not theoretical. Those things kind of disgust us. We're like, okay, we're parents.
Just get to the point. Like, help us
Get to the
parents right
point.
now. Yeah,
That's
we're
right.
busy parents. We're
That's
busy.
right.
We got 9 kids between the two of us and our
That's
and our
right.
wives, like 9 kids. We're busy. Just give us the stuff that we need to use right away to help our kids really create value,
Yep.
understand how to be entrepreneurs, understand how to be successful and independent, and not be spoiled, but just be successful.
Yeah. And how to really maintain a really great relationship with them in the process, right? What I love about our show is I looked at a few of the demographics on viewership. We have across the board, man. Like, we don't just have like rich parents that want to get further ahead. We have people trying to make ends meet, trying to make the next paycheck and their bills. Some people are single parents. Some people are, two parent households. Some people have 1 kid. Some people have 7 kids. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
we're all over the map. And I love that because it's kind of like this great uniter. Every
Yep.
parent cares about this, whether you're just trying to make the next the next bill, and you want your kids to be free of this, right? This generational issue. Or you have millions of dollars net worth and you're trying to figure out how to make sure your kids continue the legacy and they don't get spoiled and they don't get entitled and they don't become victims and they don't become anxious doubters that don't know what to do with your money at the end of the day, right? Like, we really have a wide demographic of listeners that care about this very simple topic, and it's how do you be a smart money parent? So that's what the book is. Launch days today. Value Creation Kid. We're on Amazon. If you want to go to Amazon, there's probably going to be a link in the bio too, but you can just go type in Value Creation Kid from myself, Scott Donnell, and Lee Benson. That comes out literally, I think when this episode drops, it'll be hitting live. So help us out there. We'd love to get a review. Grab the ebook. I actually got to record. We don't just have the hardcover and the soft cover, Chad. We have the Audible.
That's cool.
I had to do 19 hours.
Wow.
Of audio recording for this book. It was wild, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They brought in a guy, Dave Samuel. He's like a world-class Audible recorder. He did all Ferretti's stuff. He ran Focus on the Family's Audible for like 20 years. He was unbelievable. I mean, he probably stopped me at least 1,000 times. It was so frustrating, but at the end of the day, the audio is incredible. Like, I'm like, how did you?
Yeah, because you got a pro helping you read that book. I mean, that's important. You want the message to be clear.
Yep.
And the message is that important. I think if our kids can grasp what you're teaching in that book of how to be valuable and how to create value, it's not about how to get what's yours or get what you deserve. It's actually, it's a really positive and generous mindset of abundance, of saying, how can I create some value and some opportunities for myself? We live in a land that's full of opportunity.
Yep.
And these kids need to be taught to be empowered and to know that they have gifts and skills they were born with and they can develop and really go out there and make an impact without being held back by all the fear, all the doubt, all the uncertainty that surrounds them.
Yeah, there's so many competing voices for our kids. There's so many competing identities for kids. A lot of kids turn to social media. They turn to the popular club. They turn to a lot of things that really, at the end of the day, don't add value to their life. And so we just said, all right, we're going to reset. And we're going to talk about a very simple truth in this book, which is all education should be based on the value that it creates in the world. That is our first premise. Okay. We want kids to be able to be trained to create 3 types of value: material value, emotional value, and spiritual value. That can be created in any circumstance. It does not matter your demographic, where you're coming from, how much money you have. Every kid can create a lens to view the world where they create emotional, material, and spiritual value from every situation. And if we can get a whole generation of our kids doing that, it's going to change everything. I'm serious, man. Everything. Because the confidence you get and the capabilities that you get from having a value creation mindset is unlike any other. Entrepreneurs do this. A lot of incredible parents already do this. But if kids can switch that lens from, I just want to be cool, I just want to be accepted, I just want to get the likes on social media or the comments or the follows, to what can I do right now to create value for myself and my family and my community and my friends to really move the ball forward, that will change the world. And so it's an ancient truth that for some reason has gotten lost. And so that's what we talk about in the book.
Scott, what's your subtitle to the book? Because I think this is so incredibly important. Why don't you read that for the audience?
Yeah. The healthy struggles your children need to succeed.
Okay, so why, in your opinion, do kids need healthy struggles to succeed? Like, can't they just make the right decisions and avoid all those struggles? Why do you think they need struggles?
Because pressure builds diamonds. And a lot of parents actually make this mistake where they say things like, I just want to make sure my kids have all the things I never had growing up. I just want to make sure my kids have all the opportunities I never had. I want to make sure my kids don't have to deal with all of the hard things I had to deal with to get to where I am today. Well, there's a point of love that comes from a perspective of love.
Right. It's not bad intentions, but
No.
what's the downside to that?
It turns them into spoiled kids,
Right.
right? Like, how did you get here today? It's because of the healthy struggles you went through. Now, we're not talking about trauma, right? Or tough love even. That's not what we're talking about, right? You don't want to pass on generational abuse and neglect and that's not building a relationship with your kids. That's actually hurting them even more. But there's a lot of healthy struggles, and any athlete will tell you, I have to put in the work to become the person that's worthy of the trophy at the end of the day. Any scholar 4.0 will tell you, I had to put in the work. I had to say no to certain things to say yes to the future I wanted. But for some reason, when it comes to parenting, we want to try to protect. We want to try to fight against anything that might make my kids' lives.
Yeah, we want to shelter them from any rain, even though it's good for them sometimes to feel that rain.
That's right. So in the book, we actually outline more than 90 healthy struggles for families.
Oh, wow.
That kids can go through, and zero of them, and I'm rounding to zero from about half, zero of them are taught in schools. So this is why it's so critical. Like we say this all the time, have the conversations with your kids and do not outsource your parenting. These are the healthy struggles that kids need. And we have this chart. I love this chart. If you're watching
look at that
on YouTube,
that's cool.
We call it the value creation cycle. And the point of the cycle is this: healthy struggles create capability in kids. That's the only way they can actually gain capabilities. And then the capabilities create confidence. And the confidence and capability together actually is what creates value in the world. And then you go right back into healthy struggle. So it's healthy struggle, capability, confidence, value creation. Healthy struggle, capability, confidence, value creation. It's an upward cycle that kids can continually go throughout their childhood. And we teach parents how to have this environment in the home and the specific relationships with your kids that are built in love and trust, but also allow them to go through tough things that are challenging to help them grow. And that is the antidote to entitlement. It's the antidote to victimhood. It's the antidote to laziness. It's the antidote to self-doubt and anxious kids, right? Like there's a stat in one of the forward of our book is Emily Ann Gullickson. She's a nationally renowned innovator in education. She's literally being asked by 30 states right now, how do we reform education? And she's leading the charge. And she, in the forward of the book, she talks about the stats of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And it's a staggering amount of teenage girls that have mental health issues, depression and anxiety and nervousness and insomnia. And there's so much pressure on them to perform and succeed and look good and be perfect and be part of the cool club, that this value creation cycle will remove them from that form of identity. If you can put your main motivation and driver in life to how can I create value right now in this situation? What can I do in this very situation with my friend who's struggling, with this assignment for school, with this job I have, and in the home? You see something that's not clean, you see a mess, you see an issue, you solve it. We teach kids, create value. And that is the lens that gets them to escape all those other traps that so many of this next generation is getting stuck in, right? Like, and we talk about, there's 4 pillars of the value creation kid. It's value creation and the 3 value creators that we talk about. And then it's house rules. So we give a prescripted environment in the home, how to set up the expectations and the expenses and the extra pay for your kids to be able to build a home where they're going through healthy struggle. So it's the house rules. Then we have financial competency, which is everything we talk about in this show and in your book, Smart Not Spoiled. And then the last one is the healthy struggles. The healthy struggles that kids need to succeed. So 90 topics that parents can help their kids move through to create value in the world. So these are like soft skills, hard skills, career skills, business skills, college prep skills, investing and budgeting skills, technologies and online security skills. These are the healthy struggles the kids need to succeed. So that's the setup for the book.
I think what's important about your book, Scott, is that it addresses the issue that all of us as parents have to battle with all the time. Like, do we want to remove the struggle or do we allow them to struggle? One thing, my kids are all athletes. I've got 5 kids, 7 to 18. And one thing I've actually never done, even though it's been very tempting, is I've never talked to any of their coaches about their playing time or lack thereof on different teams. And I mean, this is a great example because as you were talking about, I just thought about all the situations on teams or in bleachers where I was like, man, I should say something to the coach because like I've got some influence and, you know, I think that they made a mistake here. And for some reason, this kid's playing more than my kid and other parents are all talking to the coaches.
Right.
Coaches are even telling me, assistant coaches are telling me, my daughter or my son, here's the other parent making a complaint. And sometimes it actually has an impact. Like the kid gets more opportunities because their parent is the squeaky wheel. And I say, I literally have told my kids, if you have an issue or you're wondering why you're not playing more or getting the opportunities or whatever sport it might be, you go up to the coach and you approach them and say, can I please have a meeting with you? We're talking about even my 12-year-old son.
Yep.
And the experiences they've had and the respect they've gained from the coaches is phenomenal. And I'm in the bleachers. I will cheer my kid on at every game, at every match, but I will not interfere and take over for them because then I feel like I'm doing them harm. Even if like there's situations where I was the sponsor of the team and like I know I could have, if I would have just said anything, even if it was somewhat objective, the coach would have probably been like, I should probably take a look at this because Chad's telling me this or that. But
You
I
could
just felt like
Chad, you could have been like, you could just made eye contact and then your kids get playing time. Yeah.
Yes. Right. And that's what I'm saying. But once again, I just made that decision very early on that like, I'm not going to be that parent to remove the healthy struggle. It's probably good for my kid to learn a hard lesson. And maybe there was a case where they needed to work harder or they needed to learn a skill in their position.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they had that conversation with the coach and something changed. The coach said, all right, you know, this is what I need from you and let's work on something. And it happened. And they were like, wow. And so the next time they had a question, they didn't come to me. They went directly to the coach.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's capability and confidence and that's self-esteem. That was a lesson from a healthy struggle instead of me intervening every time I thought I should intervene.
Yes.
You know, let them struggle, let them figure it out, and they're going to be better in the long run because of it.
Yeah. And you have to get them to work through it. That is the goal. And you maintain the relationship. And what this book does is it removes the bribery. It removes the coercion. It removes mom and dad stressing the heck out, freaking out about every little thing. I there's a story in the book. Growing up, I had friends whose parents tried to get them playing time. They fought with the teacher to get the A. We would do the science fair, and then certain kids' parents would do everything. And then
Right.
those kids never went anywhere with it. They never pursued science. They just got the cool thing when their parents did it all. I had a friend in high school whose mom got the driver's ed teacher fired
Oh
when
my
her
gosh.
daughter failed the driver's test.
Oh
It
my
was like,
gosh.
take personal responsibility. The kids have to learn to do it. In the book, one of the things that Lee asked me to do is because he said, please write your life first. Just try to think for a minute how you got to where you're at. Because, I'm young, but I've done a lot of, things in my life. I started out dyslexic. I was the fat kid. I was the last to hit puberty. They only like I shouldn't have passed kindergarten, first and second grade. The only reason I passed was because my twin sister passed, and they're like, we can't leave him back. He has to go.
Right. Right.
And in third grade, I played chess for the first time, and I beat my third grade teacher in chess, and he was the chess coach. And they were like, oh, his brain just works differently, right? And so once I started to see what my superpower was, my parents never stepped in either, just like you. They said, you
Interesting.
figure it out. I had to
Right.
figure it out. I had to work through it. They coached me through it. They would ask questions, but I had to figure it out. And starting from sixth grade on, I learned how to go to the teacher. If there was an issue in school or a problem I didn't understand, or I would go to every single teacher at the beginning of every single semester and say, what do you need from me to succeed and be the best student in this class? And they would give me the roadmap.
Hmm.
And I did that for the next, I don't know, 12 years. Again, I got a 4.0 in middle school as the dyslexic kid.
Amazing.
I got valedictorian in high school. I was the President's Cup #1 kid in university at Whitworth. And I was the student of the year at the MBA program that's #1 on the Princeton Review, ACT and MBA. All of it was because I knew how to listen to the customer, which was the teacher,
Right.
and figure out what they needed for me to excel and to give them exactly what I needed to be on, like, to do it right.
But if your parents would have intervened and never let you struggle, you would not have had that capability.
Never.
Yeah.
They would have ripped me down like nothing else would have. It would have made me entitled. I would have been angry. I would have been a victim, someone else's fault, right? In fact, in this book, you got to see this one last thing, and then I'll shut the book down. But you see this value creation kid matrix right here?
Yes. Anxious, self-doubter, value creation kid, lazy victim, and entitled taker for those
That's right.
listening.
So this matrix is what resonates with all of the parents who read our book before we launched it.
Right.
The whole idea of this matrix is capability and confidence. That's the X and Y graph of this matrix. If you have high capability and high confidence, you're a value creation kid. If you have low capability and low confidence, you're a victim. You're a lazy victim. You'll never.
Interesting. Interesting.
But here's the part that we found that was so interesting. If you have high capability as a kid, but low confidence, you're anxious, you're self-doubting. That's what a lot of these teenage girls are struggling with right now.
They don't have the confidence, but they have the capability. They have the skills, they have the gifts. They just don't have that belief and conviction in themselves. Maybe they have not been tested, or they haven't been allowed to face the struggles, and therefore they're not really sure of themselves.
They're not sure of themselves. And so going through that cycle brings them into that upper right value creation kid quadrant. And then flip it, high confidence. I'm a very confident kid with low capability. That's an entitled kid. That's a taker. That's a kid who thinks that everything should be handed to him on a silver platter, that the rules don't apply to them, that I deserve this, even though they don't. And so the prescription of the book is let's work through healthy struggles with our kids. The more, the merrier. While you maintain a deep, loving relationship with them, the more successful they're going to be in the real world. That's the point of this. And it's the message that we need to get to every parent, because I know you and I struggle with it all the time, with sports and school and church and camp and friends and keeping up with the Joneses. And I want my kids to see this, experience this, have this. But we've got to be able to have this ability to step back for a second and let the kid evolve and grow and have those
Well,
conversations to grow.
let me share with you what happened, conversation just literally 24 hours ago. So 24 hours ago, my oldest two kids are 18 and 16, and they're going to prom this upcoming Saturday. And they have a big group of kids. There's like 20 kids in their group going to the high school prom. For my daughter, it's her senior prom. They've got their dates. Everyone's excited. And they're planning the dinner plans. And it's a struggle because they're already paying for the entrance fee. They're splitting gas. They're doing all this stuff. And they're like, we want to go to a cool spot for dinner. And my daughter's like, everyone's got different amounts of money saved up. Some people say it's too expensive. Some people say just go to McDonald's and we'll make it silly. And others want to do something nice. And she's like, Dad, a lot of people have never even been to teppanyaki restaurant. Like, is there any way you'd be willing to just treat the group to a cool teppanyaki prom dinner before the dance? And everyone's paying for everything else themselves. And I'm not going to lie, like, it's not a big deal to me. And I thought about it. I was like, that'd be kind of cool, a big teppanyaki prom thing. And then I was like, that's not a struggle. Like, that's not going to teach them anything. And so I told her, that is such a cool idea. Absolutely not. So I said, you guys are going to have to figure something out. And you approach me with a plan and a value exchange for that, or you come up with something else. And so I didn't hear anything yesterday. And then today after school, I said, what are you guys doing for dinner? And she said, oh, we came up with a plan. We're going to do it at one of the people's houses and everyone's bringing different foods. We're going to have a big fun potluck and make it together. And I said, great. And it's like, in my mind, it would have been so easy to just write the check and pay for this big fun dinner. And in a little sense, kind of be the hero to these teenagers of like, wow, this is a cool dinner by Mr. Willardson for our prom. But I just couldn't do it. I was just like, this is not going to teach them anything. And a lot of these other kids are just going to be like, well, shoot, I mean, Mr. Willardson's going to pay for whatever we want if we just ask without any kind of value exchange. That's completely against the principles that I'm teaching here on the show, in the book, in Gravystack. Like, it just didn't go with the grain.
Yep.
And I think they're going to have a better experience knowing that no one did it for them, and they're going to have a cool potluck, make your dinner together experience.
I love it. That's exactly what we're talking about, man. A lot of parents fall into that trap where it's like, I want to earn their love.
Yeah.
I got to buy the love. I got to buy the cool parent card.
Yep.
Don't fall into that trap. In fact, if you have that temptation, what you should say, every parent's going to have the temptation. Go the other direction, which is, I have a loving, beautiful, deep relationship with my kid, not because of what I buy for them, but because of the deep, loving relationship that we have. That's the goal of the smart money parent. And so I think you nailed it, man. Don't worry. I got your back on this one.
Thank you. I'm sure they're going to have a great prom anyways, right?
That's right. That's right, man. And the last thing I'll say here about the book, because we're not going to have long episodes. We're going to end this in 1 minute flat. The point of this book, my favorite quote from the whole book, we're talking about math. And we're talking about, how did geometry help me with taxes? How did trigonometry help me with monthly budgeting? And how did algebra help me with my debt crisis right now? We say this in the book: perhaps the best math in the world that a kid can learn is the future value of their decision today. What is the answer of the value created from what I decide to do today in the future for me and the people around me? That's the point of the book. When you get a kid to think long-term, think about their future, think about delayed gratification, think about personal responsibility, everything starts to change. That's how a kid actually matures at the end of the day. And so you may feel like there's little wins and losses everywhere as a parent, but if you're moving a kid in that direction, you are winning the war. You're winning long-term. We promise you.
Every time they make a decision, Scott, to delay gratification and think about something that will have a great positive impact on their future, they are winning, they are progressing. So I think that's a great point. If you haven't already bought your copy of Value Creation Kid, go out and get it today. Combined with Smart Not Spoiled, like Scott said, we really have created a lot of great opportunities and ideas for you parents, and it's all manifested in the Gravystack app. So Thank you guys for tuning in to the Smart Money Parenting Show. Follow us, share the episodes, post on social media. We'll repost you. We've been doing that. We're getting lots of reviews and great feedback. And thank you for your support. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you again soon.
Take care, guys.
It takes more than money if you want to succeed. You gotta know what to do with it. You gotta take the lead. You gotta give them confidence. You gotta make them smart. If your kids are gonna thrive, now's the time to start. Smart